Does anyone have a question?
Stuart, I have a question, Bob Sink.
Yes, Paul.
How does our inner work help to improve the health of our physical body?
You know, a lot of illness, especially severe illness, is a manifestation of our tension. I mean, even COVID, look, I would say years of doing inner work and having built the kind of system I have inside myself enabled me to go through this COVID thing twice with barely having symptoms. And I think that, the inner work, it teaches you how to transform your tension. And severe tension, and tension really in any mode, it creates problems, physical, psychological, emotional problems inside people. It even eats away at the cells in people's systems. And I would think that a great deal of cancer and certainly heart conditions are a byproduct of people's tension. So what we're doing here is we're building a chakra system that can transform our tension, into a spiritual life. And it gives us a kind of strength that most people don't have, Most people are really at odds all the time with their emotions, their mind, with changing situations that they don't have chemistries to deal with, et cetera, et cetera. All of this brings on so many different kinds of illnesses. So I think our work, it's not that it's going to keep us from getting sick. Yes, I mean, we're just all human. But we can keep it a bit at bay, where it doesn't really take over. We can master it. So the work we do has a lot to do. It also takes you to a place where you want to eat healthy food, you want to breathe healthy air, you want to do a lot of things that are almost antithetical. Please try and sit still. Elaine, will you please try and sit still? That are antithetical to, most of what society, most of that, it's so much in this world is antithetical to being healthy. The energy we use, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about creating pollution and, messing up the lungs and creating cancer in people, et cetera, et cetera. The food, you go into a supermarket and there's one section of healthy food and the rest of the place is like garbage. It's like manufactured garbage that they're selling, to 250, 300 million people that live in the United States. So, the meditation truly makes you a more conscious person. And it, in depth, gives you the strength to master your inner self. to not be ripped apart by tension. I remember once somebody asked Rudy, they said, why do you wear orange all the time? So he said, it's the color of fire. And why fire? Because fire, that fire, that internal fire burns tension. Tension blocks us from having a spiritual life. And also is the kind of, energy that we can transform. We have the power inside ourselves to transform our tension. We also have the power to build a system that enables us to, stay relatively healthy. Again, nobody's perfect and everybody's going to come down with something, But just having a chakra system that is connected to energy that's infinite in the universe, makes you a more conscious person. What you consume, what you wear, what you, breathe, what, how you live becomes more conscious. I mean, it would be very hard for me to go within a block and a half of spam, stuff like that. I mean, and yet, we can't be too pure, We have to be able to recognize that, you have to live in the world. In many ways, we need certain kinds of illnesses to build up the immune system. But having a strong chakra system keeps it at bay. It doesn't allow it to take over. I'm sure 90% of the people that wound up in hospitals with COVID and had immune systems that were deteriorated,
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. I mean, this is a very important subject. And it's a subject that, if you approach it in a conscious way, you'll never take yourself for granted. You'll never assume anything. And we live in kind of a wonderful world. I remember, 30 years ago, who the hell would eat health food? It was just terrible stuff to eat. Today it's just gourmet. I mean, the stuff that's made today is just wonderful. The products, I'm just staggered by the products that Jennifer brings back here. Healthy products to eat. Does anyone else have a question?
I think living in life is not easy at all, but life is a miracle, to have life here, to feel everything, to create, love, eat.
Yes. Being a happy person is 50% getting closer to being a healthy person.
Mm.
Living with love in your heart, living with compassion. It's 50% of the battle. I'd say 80% of the battle is right there, just being a happy person
Right.
will cure so much that takes place in most human beings. And the end goal of this meditation is to build a system that enables us to be happy people. You know, not charismatic type happiness and all that kind of. I'm talking about a simple and profound joy and a quiet joy that's at the center of a human being's heart. Being a creative person, well, not necessarily. I mean, you know, being an artist or musician, that doesn't necessarily keep people healthy. But an open heart, being a musician or an artist or whatever, a lawyer, a doctor, or, you know, I don't know what, you know, anything, and having your heart open. I remember in that book I wrote, The Mystical Ferry Boat, where that character at the end of the story has to confront his death. And he just goes with this joy in his heart, embracing life, embracing God. And I think the end goal of all of this is that joy in the heart that embraces God. That's the real healing. That is the real healing. You know, building a system that enables us to live that way and die that way. Because we have to do both, you know? Does anyone else have a question? I hope this is clear, you know, because I believe, as I've said a million times already, happy people are enlightened people. And I don't think it gets any more profound or deeper than that, or just simple joy and love all the time in our hearts, being grateful for life, for the miracle of life, for the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the people that we interact with. Having that kind of gratitude and joy, that is the real healing, not overcoming cancer and all the real healing is overcoming oneself, becoming a person full of love and full of joy and happy. And as I say, not some ego-driven, you know, happiness that a lot of these people you see in the theater and movies and television. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a simple and a profound joy in the heart. We don't have to impress anybody with how happy we are. We just feel it. Does anyone else have a question?
I have a question, Stuart. I have two people in my life that are terminal, that are leaving in the next few hours, especially one that I'm very close to, my cousin, who is a Jesuit priest. And he's in his 90s. He's had a very full life. And my family has been calling and being in touch about his death. And what you just said really helps me say goodbye to him, because I know that he's at peace. He's lived
Chris,
a full life.
what is the question, Chris?
The question is, how do I let go of him with joy and surrender him with joy without feeling regret for stuff that I didn't do for him?
Elaine, can you please sit still? You know, you keep moving and it disrupts the energy of the meditation. No, I don't want to hear your response. Just sit still. Thank you. Just sit still. You know, Chris, look, you know, every moment you spent with this man was a treasure. Every moment you spent with this person probably taught you something about your own life. And, you know, it's not what you didn't do for him, it's what you did with him. And the presence of this person, the love that you had for this person who lived his life and whatever wonderful things he did in life, you know, just feel grateful for having known him. And don't hold on to him and think, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I mean, this is bullshit, you know? This is basically people feeling sorry for themselves. You know, the death of a close relative, most of the pain and the we feel is the fear of our own death. You know, just love him, let him go. He's going to take a vacation.
Yeah.
You know, he's gone away for 40 days to, you know, and he'll bring into his next lifetime everything that he learned in this lifetime. So, you know, celebrate his death by
Thank
just having that gratitude in your heart and that joy in your heart, and that love. I mean, you can't love somebody if you try to keep them imprisoned on the earth. You have to give them the freedom to move on.
you.
You know, it's like that book of mine you read, moving on, finding happiness. Well, that's what it is, Chris. You know?
Yeah. Thank you. That's just what I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, look, the closest person ever in my life, and probably I will never love anyone in the kind of depth I love Rudy. And I was there the moment he died. And you know, it was such a profound and moving experience to me. And it was profound and moving because I had to find gratitude in my heart. And he told me 1,000 times, when I leave the world, don't drag me back here.
Yeah.
Find gratitude in your heart, love me, let me go. You know, that'll enable me to be with God instead of having to be dragged back into this again, you know? And that was the struggle the moment he died, finding that, you know,
Mhm.
and the way I found it was very simple. I said, Stuart, this last 6 years were a miracle. You got to spend 6 years with probably one of the greatest spiritual teachers of the 20th century. He was like your father. He gave you your life. You know, don't drag him back. Just love him and let him go. And now your work is to find out, you know, what that training, you know, was all about. Not even while he was alive, but after he left. And I basically was now between me and God, you know, and I had to find out what that 6 years. And I said to myself, that is what your work is.
Yeah.
Did you get training? Did you truly learn something profound, or was it just something you're going to let go in the past? And out of sheer gratitude, I never dragged Rudy back here. I always knew he lived in my heart, and I didn't have to drag him back. You know, he was always present and never feeling sorrow or lamenting or grieving and all this stuff you're supposed to do.
Stuart, what do you mean by dragging him back?
You know, feeling lost, feeling that you have lost something, you know, moaning and crying and grieving and, I mean, look, I've been to enough Jewish funerals to tell you, I mean, it's just unbelievable, and it doesn't give the soul of that being the freedom to move on. Everybody is schlepping them back to the earth. People are sad. I mean, when Rudy died, most people never really got his training.
Mm.
And people were like, oh shit, he's gone. What do I do now? When all the time he was alive, they basically took him for granted. I mean, they built shrines to him, they built all kinds of stuff, but it's not the same thing as truly mastering the work, truly mastering the inner work that Rudy had to teach. Or truly mastering our own inner work so that when somebody close to us leaves, we give them the freedom to move on in their life instead of, lamenting and crying and moaning and dragging them back here. And, it's what creates ghosts. And all of that just stems from our own weakness, our own lack of connection with God. Because if we are truly connected with God, we don't go through all that soap opera. We joyously let somebody go. And hopefully, when I leave this planet, whatever that's going to be, people will joyously let me go. Oh, it's like somebody's computer has a stomach ache. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I hope this is clear, I mean, I don't know how to make it clearer. My responsibility to Rudy was to learn what he had to teach me, so that he wouldn't have to come back here and do it all over again. That somebody here learned it. And my responsibility wasn't, building ashrams and shrines, temples. I don't know who that is, but can you please mute yourself? Whoever's computer is making all that noise. It was to learn what he had to teach and then pass it on to a new generation of people so that this amazing work stays in the world. And I built ashrams and I built, look, I was the one responsible for the stupa in Big India. It was my idea, and I put everybody together initially, and then I discovered, well, anyway, I don't want to get into it. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to? mean, my job in life is to build stupas inside all of you. My job, and to build a stupa inside myself. I mean, the whole point of the stupa is the perfection of enlightenment, you know?
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay, I have only one announcement. Next Monday, I won't be having class. I have to go and have every 2 months, I have this eye treatment, and it's next Monday. And the following Saturday, I'm going to start in-person classes. I've announced this. You know, the only thing I ask, I have only one rule in this, you know, that people, before every class they come to, they get tested for COVID. That's it. Very easy thing to do. It takes 15 minutes. And it'll really prevent a lot of aggravation if somebody does have the problem. I will test myself as well. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. Thank you. And I tell you all, you know, I need a teacher too. You all are my teacher. You all, the presence of you all here demands that I have to really work deep on myself. And I just have an enormous amount of gratitude for that. I want to do that to the day I leave the world. And so God bless you all. God bless your presence here. And there'll be a class on, Sunday. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Stuart.
You, Stuart. Thank you very much. Thank you.